Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day, wherever you're at on this beautiful flat earth creation on which we live. Certainly not a globe, as good old Neil deGrasse, little chubby at the waist, muffin top, as he would say. I know I've said that before. When I figure out the audio, how to play audio, there's a few clips. I'm trying to deciding what I want to do with a couple clips from deGrasse Tyson. Anyway, I thought Sunday evening there's a couple points wanted to point out. Why not just jump in, go for it? I'm currently uploading. Certainly, it's a timely process. Thank you, Captain, for the file, or at least today's flipping tables. So we usually download the file, then re-upload to other channels. So flipping tables from today will be up in about a week. Probably up, I don't know, in the morning, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, I'm Clint. I'm your host. I'm your Hawkeye. Canadian, West Coast. And let's see what we want to do here. Let's get to it. Yeah, brilliant flipping tables today. Good team, full team, minus the doc, wherever you're at, brother, and JP. Great, yeah. Enough said. Just glad you're able to. I don't know whether you'll hear this, but I'm glad. We're glad that you're able to join us as much or as little as you can. And all right. I think I've got the entire screen. Hopefully. Well, as I mentioned, good afternoon. Hey, Benjamin. Good afternoon to me here. Yeah. I forgive. Oh, shit. Okay, did you say Australia or New Zealand? You don't have to if you don't, if you're. But anyway, glad you're here. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate it. So waving back at you, man. No, shit, Philippines. Wow, that was yeah. Well, maybe not the other direction. A little north, little towards Mount Meru, and a little yeah. What would you say of my guess of Australia? Okay, Francis of Assisi. So today just happens to be the feast day. It's a Assisi feast day. It's the feast of Stigmata. So apparently, homeboy, was that enough? Let's see if I can get. You know what's nice? What feast of the Stigmata, Francis of Assisi? What's nice about, of course, I guess what I've been trained, the Wikipedia pages. There's the immediate clear layout, the way it's sectioned. There, it's great. Look at this. The fact that I could click on a bunch of other, and it might take a little longer to get into Feast of Stigmata, Francis of. But we can hit this. The thing is, okay, maybe nope. Okay, we'll just. Wonder if it'll tell me in the wiki page. All right. Well, how about this? So, homeboy, let's just go through just the brief. So, circa 1181 to 3 October 1226. This is significant to us. Let's see, 1226. Let's remember 11 years after 1215, and it's certain dates I think we should have somewhere back in our minds. And I think of June 15th, 1215, the signing of the. Okay, I don't have all the details down. I know that Johnny has covered this. Not only the signing of the Magna Carta, but King John of Lackland, or King John Lackland, gave his crown or the crown jewels, or whether it's one of the same. Again, obviously, got to get the details down. Be nice just to roll off the tongue and speak about it. To I can't remember the title of the papal representative. Something significant also happened. So 1215, June 15, or 15 June 1215. So the fact that we our good old Franciscan monk, or founder of the Franciscan order, or at least it's credited, the Franciscan order was started with Francis of Assisi, in which we've been told that the current Jesuit white pope, it bears the namesake of Francis of Assisi. We say that there's the dual meaning, the duality of Francis of Assisi, or Francis. The name Francis, because it also represents the co-founder of the Jesuit order, Francis Xavier. Okay, so we have a death date, 3 October 1226. 3 October significant to us. We have a canonization date. We have a feast day. No, remember, 4 October. It's also significant to us because we think of right away, as we covered many times, Teresa of Avila, the source, the relic. Oh shit, what's the word? Wow, her relic, her incorruptible hand, her gauntlet, reliquary, I think is the word, is the uncredited source of the Marvel comic universe Thanos gauntlet, the 6 Infinity Stones. Anyway, the day that Teresa of Avila died, 4 October 1582, the Gregorian calendar was Thanos' finger snapped into place, and 4 October became 15 October, again at the snap of the Thanos finger, of the Thanos gauntlet. We recognize that Teresa of Avila's confessor, Francisco Ribera, the source of Jesuit futurism. 4 October is also so we certainly have a loaded date. And remember, we've mentioned this before. Sun Tzu and drum beats. Sun Tzu, it was a fictitious character concocted by 18th Jesuit Superior General Lorenzo Ricci. This is what we present. The Jesuits rewrote China's history, gave her her history, gave her her calendar, and the beauty as well, the fact that we're examining this. So I thought he had a longer name. So yes, Robert Bellarmine, Roberto Francis Romolo Bellarmino. So 4 October 1582 or 1542 to 17 September. So we also have Bellarmine's death date. Bellarmine was a very, very profound source, a profound, what would I say, specifically under Claudio Coviva, the Jesuit order, and then also to Bellarmine, the relationship between Bellarmine, whether bestowing responsibility, this again, just as we're told, what we can find in with names, places, and dates, that he was the one that, I don't know whether commission is the right word, like the likes of Francisco Ribera, to concoct Jesuit futurism. Okay, so Italian Jesuit and Cardinal of the Catholic Church. He was canonized as saint in 1930. And I don't have off the at will. I'm going through the list of popes at that point, whether that was was it Pius XII? Anyway, we can look down in Cardinal rank bar. It'll tell us who canonized him. Yeah, look at that. Pius XI in 1930. And Pius XI, active pope during the healing of the head wound in 1929, the Lateran Treaty, February 11th, and I believe came into effect. We have a June date. Anyway, we're kind of getting away from SCC. So Giovanni de Pietro, John Peter of Bernardone, known as Francis of Assisi, Italian mystic, Catholic friar who founded the Franciscans. He was inspired. Yeah, look at that. Harold, you're there. He was inspired to lead a life of poverty as an itinerant preacher, one of the most venerated figures in Christianity, air quotes. Francis was canonized by Gregory the 9th, 16 July 1228. He is usually depicted in a brown habit with a rope around his waist with 3 knots, symbolizing the 3 Franciscan vows of poverty, chastity, obedience. I wonder if the text that's missing should also say about, just like Opus Dei, the barbed wire, the additional barbed wire underneath the brown, perpetually brown habit, the shit stain habit. Okay. Now if we go to jump down, Stigmata. So while he was praying on the mountain of Verna during a 40-day fast in preparation for Michaelmas, 29 September. Yeah. Noting we're 17 September. So we got a handful of dates coming up in the immediate, in the next 2 weeks. Francis is said to have had a vision on or about 13 September. We have a Jesuit general date. I believe that's Claudio Acquaviva. Actually, there's 2. No, not Acquaviva. It's going to be. Well, we certainly have Peter Hans Kolvenbach's first day is 29th Jesuit Superior General. I believe there's a birthday in there as well, but I won't look for that at the moment. So the feast of the exaltation of the cross. Again, Christian in our air quotes and air quotes Christian liturgical calendar, there are several different feasts of the cross. Okay. As a result of which he received the stigmata. Now the stigmata, remember, Catholicism are bodily wounds, scars, and pain, which appears in locations corresponding to the crucifixion wounds of Jesus Christ, the hands, wrists, and feet. Brother Leo, who had been with Francis at the time, left a clear and simple account of the event. ... Suffering from the stigmata and from a trachoma, infectious disease caused by bacterium. What? I'm just gonna say. Part of me wants to say, "Whoa, Francis of Assisi had chlamydia." Chlamydia trachomatis. The infection causes a roughening of the inner surface of the eyelids. Francis received care in several cities. To no avail. Okay, so again, we don't need to get into necessarily how we arrived at. So from on or around the 13th of September to arriving to today, the point is today is recognized as, I don't know if it's a Vatican II. All right, we'll just leave that there. But let's see. We have his burial date. I know we've covered this at some point before. I don't remember which video, but we're here right now, so we might as well nail this. May 25th, 12:30. I remember May 25. we have a fascinating. So May 25th is, we have this fascinating, let's see, the third Ralphianus finding of the head of John the Baptist. Afterwards, his head was again transferred. So remember, we recently had the feast, so 29 August. So the feast day of the beheading of John the Baptist. And first and second finding of the head of John. But the third finding of the head of John the Baptist, because it just seems to get lost. Everybody's asking for on a platter. The head was transferred from there to there, once during a period of Muslim raids, about 820. It was hidden in the ground during a period of iconoclastic persecution. Okay, so 25 of May is relevant to us because in our recent history, who died, who was asphyxiated, who had his neck, had a knee on his neck, and did we witness literally a public execution? Of course, some people will say it didn't happen, but certainly brutal. We recognize that from Floyd's speech, the urine, the trail of urine. And so Derek, and what does Derek mean? Derek literally means hangman. And Derek the Hang, that's why we say Derek the hangman, Chauvin or chauvinist, knelt on the neck of George Floyd. And George Floyd breathed his last after 8 minutes and 46 seconds, the evening of May 25th, 2020. I did make a video. It was at some point flagged and blocked or deleted. But the whole lead up, there were clear markings all along the sidewalk. There were red and yellow marks, like actor marks. I can't remember all the names of the police officers, but there were clear eye recognition and acknowledgement of these marks. It is certainly was a fascinating event. And of course, being here again, what have we said? Which has your hawk said many times. If it's on a screen, it's Jesuit theater. Well, we recognize too that Floyd has a birthday, October 14, 1973. And we have another drumbeat of current Jesuit Superior General, October 14, 2016. We know that Floyd and Chauvin had worked together at a particular nightclub. Floyd had a very distinct tattoo, which he was presented before a surveillance camera with I think it was the double-headed eagle. And of course, it had been circulated that George Floyd had been involved with pornography as a male actor. And so, of course, his bare body being on full display, and of course the full tattoo could be, obviously don't advise looking it up, but you just take my word that yes, the tattoo, full display, the double-headed eagle, and the eagle wings spread, and I can't remember the type of machine gun, whether it was an AK-47 or some type of. We're not going to get into the assault rifle discussion here, but anyway, it's certainly a fascinating time. We also have another connection, Sun Tzu and drumbeat, Dr. Li Wenliang. And I have this covered in a blog post some time ago on my Hawkeye blog, Dr. Li Wenliang. Will this come? No, this was no, I'm probably the wrong guy. Why am I thinking October 14? I'm forgetting a name. Okay, but I'll leave it there. There was another significant player that had not in October 14. Okay. So back, the fact that today, Stigmata, September 17. How about this though? We have Ben Affleck. Okay, I don't just jumping around, little light Sun Tzu drum beats. Benjamin Jesu Affleck, American actor and filmmaker. I don't know enough to have it roll off his upbringing. I don't want to guess about Catholicism. I believe there's something there. But then, of course, we have the feast day, 15 August, the feast day of the Assumption of Mary, which we refer to obviously as the Queen of Heaven. We also have 15 August as the, we call it the birthday, 15 August 1534, the day that Ignatius Loyola and his 6 companions swore a special oath to the Queen of Heaven. Knights of the Virgin Mary. Also, do I add in there with Jacques Cartier, French explorer, commissioned by Francis I, King of France. That history books would tell us that Cartier led a special mass aboard his ship while returning from the so-called New World, what would become Canada. He is known as the father of Canada. Back in 1534, the exact same day that Loyola, Xavier, Favre, and the 4 others swore their oath to Mary, Cartier led a specific mass aboard his ship. And my position at this time is that Jacques Cartier was a short-robed Dominican because of his liberal distribution of rosaries, and the fact that we're also told of how he led masses, prayers, so-called sick were brought to him to be touched and healed. He read from the book of John. Anyway. We also have 15 August, Napoleon Bonaparte, which we have a film coming out later this year, directed by Ridley Scott. And then, of course, multiple drum beats, multiple Sun Tzuan Jesuit general drum beats. But we recognize as well the fact Fleck directed the town. Crime drama film co-written, directed by, and starring Ben Affleck, adapted from Chuck Hogan's 2004 novel Prince of Thieves. I was going to say Princess of Thieves. A bunch of other. There's our Jeremy Hawkeye Renner, the late Pete Postlethwaite, and so we. I don't know how to do the Boston slang. I'm not going to try and butcher it. But had its U.S. release date on the feast day of today in 2010, 13 years ago. And what's the point? Remember, we are. I wonder if it'll come up if I. Let's see, the town. Keywords. Non-robbery. Vehicle switch. Well. The fact that what we're shown, presented before us. So we have this scene where you have the 4 nuns. I'm not making this up from the robbery scene. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'll get to the chat in a second. I just want to find this. Come on. Maybe I'll have to look at the video. because how y'all doing? All right. We're sharing your entire screen. Yep. Yep. Audio's off. And it's going to take its time. Nope. Nope. Hold on. Theater mode. John Hamm. Nope. That's not what I want. I've not seen this in a while, so I don't have the details fresh. But the one detail I do remember. Come on. Remember, nothing. Jesuit Theater 101. There's nothing to chance. The amount of money that goes into. Okay, I'll leave those tabs up for a second in case I'm going to jump back. Okay, so the town. The amount of money that goes into the pre-production and post-production, marketing, distribution. I'm not the guy to. I know, but just anybody, just a basic understanding. 37 million. The amount of money that's spent, which of course this is why the director is like, think of it, and every prominent director you can think of. Look at all these other names. Okay, of course we look at the writers, screenplay. Is the screenplay adapted? Is the screenplay based on a novel, a short story? Who's the author of the said story? Based on, produced. You have your primary producers. Do you have executive? Do you have the stars? Who's our actors, actresses? Who's the cinematographer? Edited music, production, distribution, release dates, even running time. Sometimes, man, there can be it's fascinating numbers, like December 4. That's can be January 24 or December 4. The running time can have an allusion to whether it's a Jesuit general or a particular event date, the country of origin, and then also too. So I'm bringing this up because you never know these names. It's like apart from the first one or two, or what, 3, 4, maybe handful of actors, nobody knows unless you're like geeking out. Nobody knows the names, but the name you're gonna know. So there's the top billing actors or actresses, and you're going to know the director's name. And then of course there's on the poster you'll have, well, the release date. And of course, if it's some countries will have a different release date. For example, Rambo: Last Blood, released 20 September 2019, but in France it was released 25 September 2019, and then we have a significant date for 25 September for us amongst the team. And so again, just noting that with every film, you're going to know more or less that all the pressure is on the director's shoulders, on the director's chin. So the amount of money that goes into creating, nothing is left to chance. And within this scene, what are they all looking at? 1798. 1798. Remember, who was arrested in 1798 under Napoleon Bonaparte? Pius VI. And thus completing the 1260-day year prophecy from 538 to 1798. Pius VI would then go on to die in exile August 29th, 1799. And then, of course, that, as we state, an anagram that shows up in James Francis Cameron's Terminator 2 Judgment Day, August 29th, 1997, is actually a reference to August 29th, 1799. And remember, August 29 is the feast day of the beheading of John the Baptist. And August 29 in the Julian calendar is September 11 in the Gregorian calendar. And what's September 11? The legitimate birthday of Jesus of Nazareth. For CC. So anyway, just wanted to point these out. Let's see. I've ignored the chat long enough. As I think Benjamin would say, committed the cardinal sin of streaming. Guilty. What's significant about the coming September 21st on did I drop September 21? There's something there I can't. Narina, thank you for being here. I'm not sure if I don't think, have we connected, whether chats, or are you from Johnny's channel? Anyway, welcome here. Glad you could be here. You know what, while I'm thinking of it, I'm going to go to my own stream. Look at that, like. September 21. What am I thinking of? Because there's something there. Hey. Okay, fantastic. Is this your handle over at on Odyssey? If not, that's okay. You don't have to if you're not comfortable with sharing. But hey, glad you're here. Very glad you're here. Welcome. I don't. There was a period of 2 weeks. I think I was hitting this every night. I think in part, if it was either something stemming from flipping tables, what we had discussed prior in the day on Sundays, or if during the team briefs, if I'd caught something that I wanted to add to, and then of course, August and September, there's a lot of significant dates, which for me, as a researcher, as one who is trying to shine the light, just like the team, whatever the motivation, and the drive to shine a light on this, the fact that exposing the Jesuit word order, that the Jesuit Superior General, in which again the fact that nobody knows the Jesuit General's name, almost any of them except possibly numero uno, Ignatius of Loyola. We know that Francis Xavier might be another well-known name. It's debatable his role. But how many other, and then again, I've been hitting Francis Borgia pretty hard. Claudio Acquaviva, I believe, is the mind. If these men are the legitimate and literal conduit between this realm and the spirit, the spiritual realm, especially to the dark forces, I believe Claudio Acquaviva was behind what we know and understand as Shakespeare, a modern, what he published as Jesuit Ratio Studiorum, the method of teaching. And we know that the Jesuit order became the schoolmasters, prominent teachers, prominent authority figures in education, universities, and so on. Not that universities didn't exist, but post-Jesuit order, they took over everything. So what you're learning is what they're teaching. And what they're teaching, specifically this last 500 years, everything from Copernican cosmology, everything that's been taught, the restructuring language, which remember, Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, language governing, manipulating, limiting even thought. Everything has been led to literally bring into subjection the minds and hearts and even wills of every single human being to the authority of Rome, the Vatican, the great harlot, and away from Jesus of Nazareth, whom the office of the Jesuit general is mirrored. And of course, in part, as we've also said, that this office, how do you even phrase this properly to do it justice? This is not even a shadow. Not even a shadow. We think of what has been orchestrated by the Son. I'm just speechless. I don't even know how to put it into words. It's that wonderful and magnificent. And here we have an office that had been prophesied, and I believe in part. Well, this is the struggle and understanding. It's again understanding who is who, which is the office of the white pope or the office of the black pope. Which one is the little horn power? Was it one? What did one fulfill it, and then the power, the symbology, was it transferred to the other? And of course, that's why we examine the 1700, well, all the events leading to the late 1700s, so the late 18th century. Of course, the founding of what we know and understand as America, 1776, the Declaration of Independence on 2nd August 1776, 18th Jesuit Superior General Lorenzo Ricci's 73rd birthday. I say that the United States of America is the gift that Ricci gave to himself. He certainly acted in confidence as Frederick Tupper Saucy III presents in Rulers of Evil, Useful Knowledge About Governing Bodies, which was published January 1st, 1999, under 29th Jesuit Superior General Peter John Kolvenbach. Remember, when he died 26 November 2016. We've covered this many times. When 31st Jesuit Superior General Arturo Sosa began his generalate as 31st Jesuit Superior General, there were 5 living popes for approximately 6 weeks. Peter John, Adolfo Nicolas, Arturo Sosa, Benedict XVI. Remember, Benedict XVI, who died recently, began his white papacy 19 April 2005. And also current white Pope, Francis Jorge Mario Bergoglio. Okay. What I really appreciate that, JD. I certainly don't feel like it most of the time, but I thank you. I appreciate that. Your delivery has gotten really good. Thank you very much. Thank you for acknowledging that. Certainly, this is, again, it's not my forte, but thank you very much. Yeah, certainly. Horrible, but we all start somewhere. So you finally got to a laugh. Okay, there you go. Congratulations. How many we got? You're one of 5 watching, and one of them is me, and that's okay. That's okay. I just recognizing again, 17 September. I just wanted to hit some points before turning in. And let's see, Benjamin, a lot of Shakespeare's tropes and plots are supposedly connected to the stories. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. We even the name of, let's see, Claudio. We have so Claudio the Gimp. Remember the names have meanings. Claudio means gimp or lame. There's the October 4th. Oh, I hate this. Even having to bring up Pulp Fiction, but I'll bring it up anyway. Shit fiction. Release day. Well, it says Canada, but this was also a United States release date as well. 14 October 1994. And remember, 14 October, direct connection to the current Jesuit Superior General. Of course, going back in time, Arturo Sosa certainly wasn't general at that point. It was homeboy, Kovenbach, Peter Hans, Peter John. And there we go. Pulp Fiction, The Gimp. This is also important because, as I presented, this is an allegory for literally for Canada. And as we're coming up on September 30th, so the feast day of Third Jesuit Superior General Francis Borgia, it's also Orange Shirt Day, which I have a thumbnail. Every child matters with Keanu Reeves. It's a big effing joke. And I've broken the scene down. There's not just Willis's character Butch Coolidge. There's the story of his watch. Remember how many men? So Butch's father in the film, as it's written, was in I can't remember if it was the Vietnam War, but the wristwatch. How many different men shoved this watch up their ass to preserve it, and then eventually it made its way to Bruce Willis's character. So it's a driver throughout the film, but then also too there are a number of clocks in this sequence, especially after Willis. So Rames's character is taken in the back and being buggered by Zed. Process of being buggered. Again, it's disgusting. I don't recommend it. Coolidge gets free, punches out the Gimp. Whether it breaks his neck, I don't know. We don't really know. But remember, Willis goes to flee from the up the stairs through and out the pawn shop door, but has a moment of morality, decides to stay because he's hearing Rames's character being raped downstairs or sodomized downstairs. Grabs a number of different weapons from bat, chainsaw, hammer, and then arrives at the 33 sword. And there's so much detail from the treble clef representing G for Jesu. The fact that Willis is Butch Coolidge in a white shirt, which is soaked with blood. And as he descends the stairs with the sword in his hands, there's three clocks, and from memory, two of those clocks are set to, one is 4:19, and the other is set to 4:20. So those are Jesuit general dates, Napoleon dates, Jacques Cartier dates. But the fact that they're there, again, back to this idea, it's so intentional. 1798 in a film directed by, I want to say Roman Catholic, Ben Affleck. born on 15 August, so the feast day of the Assumption of Mary, in saturated Roman Catholic, in a film that takes place in saturated Roman Catholic Boston, and we presented with 1798. Just a coincidence. Just a coincidence, okay. Where's the with Bill liberally throws the bullshit flags. And then back to this idea, though, that Zed and the Gimp are, in summary, a representation of the Jesuit order. Bring out the Gimp. Remember Claudio, the Gimp Aquaviva. Claudio, the Gimp Living Waters Aquaviva. The source of not just the Jesuit Dewey Rhymes Bible, but also the 1611 authorized version, also known as the King James Version. Shakespeare. And under Aquaviva's Generalit, you have Teresa of Avila's death. You have, and remember her death day, the beginning of the Gregorian calendar, taking over the Julian calendar. That's 1582. You have, I want to say, the Babington plot. There were a number of plots. I don't have them all down by name. Oh, come on. I might be wrong in this. This might be in the 70s. So just prior to, would be under Edward, I believe, Mercurian's Generalit, Babington plot. No, 1586. Okay, so certainly under 1586. So it would be under Aquaviva's Generalit. You have the 1605 gunpowder plot, Guido Fawkes, Guy Fawkes. John Johnson, a.k.a. Guy Fawkes, a.k.a. John Johnson. Anyway, what am I missing? It's okay, you're truly doing great work. Hey, thank you. I know I jump over a lot, but again, this is just exam for me. Whether again, is this a brain dump? This is just hitting, like, for me, Sun Tzu and drum beats. It's all connected. The Jesuit theater, it's all connected. And then, of course, today being this feast of the Stigmata of Francis of Assisi, it's okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no. Yeah, editing. How about this? I think, what do I want to say? Any video I've created, I'm trying to think the ratio between the sound is everything. Sound trumps image. Trumps. Just a hand in the bush. Sound trumps image. You can have a shitty image, but if you have shitty sound, no one will watch. Good sound with a shitty image, it can be forgiven. Sound, it can be offensive. It can drive listeners, viewers away. So sound is everything. And of course, we're always, the point is the goal is to better and better sound with all of our setups. But it takes time to get there because, of course, good equipment requires a good healthy budget. But we're trying to make things work. Hey, at least I'm not where I started. I had this shitty, I think it was like a $45 condenser mic. I think Doc Felipe busted my balls about it because it sounded like an ASMR session every time, because it clearly it was so sensitive to not just room noise, potentially even the garbage trucks outside or the lawnmowers, but just, of course, bringing it inside, the hum of the fridge or my own breath. At least this dynamic mic, what is it, a Shure SM58, which is literally an old beat up. This is from the 90s for me. I've had this thing for a long time, and it came to me used, and I'm so grateful. And it just took an XLR to USB cable just to get it up and running. So no interface yet, but ideally. Yep, certainly. Yeah, it's certainly the Breakspear. We also have the it was a brilliant point when Eric 777 showed up on scene. I think back in 2018. Was it Psalm 46? I can't do the whistle. Psalm 46. Sorry about that. Sorry, Shakespeare. I don't know if this will come up, but there's a. I was going to use the word palindrome, but then that takes me down the tenet rabbit trail, which we won't go down at the moment. So Shakespeare's authorship of Psalm 46 is no more than a Horhi myth. Yeah, it's not that Shakespeare is the author behind Psalm 46, but the fact that the 46th word from the beginning is shake, the 46th word from the end is, I believe it's spear. There's something to this. Not trying to make it more than what it is, but this idea that this play on words. Again, easy words have meaning, just as names have meaning. Like Claudio, the Gimp, lame, Aquaviva, living waters. What's what to us? What do we associate with living waters? Well, we associate like the word of God. And just like I point out, this idea that I've clicked out of it, but bring out the Gimp. Direct allusion. What would become of Canada, the intentional residential school system, the intentional buggering of thousands upon thousands of Indigenous children, and then the beginning but not limited to, and then of course that leading to is my belief, my position is what's happened the last 3 years is the residential school system 2.0. It was this idea that the testing has occurred, and now remember, because there's nothing new under the sun, it's just an old tactic being reused because it worked effectively. And there's this idea that once I've been thinking about it. At first, the children were willingly given over, and then they were taken by force. And that's the residential school, a summary of the residential school system, and that's going to be the summary of what's happening today. And that tells you, of course, this idea of how we can be, depending on each of our individual mindsets and our stance, our position on vaccinations, and if you're a parent, if you've given your child over. The idea, though, that the mindset being exactly the same of a parent back, 500, 400 years ago. I also wanted to acknowledge too, I know jumping around a bit, but that's important. And of course, we address that at some point, but we did have, so we have General Wolfe and General Wolfe and Montcalm, the Battle of the Plains, Battle Abraham. In what present-day Quebec City, the ramparts. The Battle of Quebec. Apparently, and I've heard this a few times, that it's now obviously an historic site. I can't remember the square mileage, but apparently back in 1759, remember, Lorenzo Ricci began as general-lit 21 May 1758. So this falls directly under Lorenzo Ricci's general-lit. So 13 September 1759, the battle which began So this is what would become Canada, was fought on a plateau by the British Army and Royal Navy against the French Army just outside the walls of Quebec City, on a land that was originally owned by a farmer named Abraham Martin, hence the name of the battle. The battle involved fewer than 10,000 troops in total, but proved to be a deciding moment in the conflict between France and Britain over the fate of New France, influencing the later creation of Canada. Now, remember, there's no red, there's no blue. It's one and the same, all ruled by Rome. Both sides owned. Remember the fourth vow, the extreme oath, the Jesuit order. I believe General James Wolfe. I think there is a Freemasonry connection, and Louis Joseph Marquis de Montcalm. There's I don't want to start guessing but I don't want to jump down that. But apparently, within where is it? This piece of land originally owned by farmer. There was not a square foot where a dead body and blood, where there was not a dead body. The slaughter that happened that day, and this goes back to Wolfe died. He was mortally wounded and died 13 September. The next day, I believe it was at some point in the morning, the 14th September. Louis Joseph Marquis de Montcalm died. And then, of course, somewhere I never got to go yet. Back in the 90s, I did, after graduating high school, I did hitchhike. It's amazing. I did hitchhike across my country. It began as literally a walking adventure, which turned into a hitchhiking adventure, and from coast to coast. And it's unfortunate I did not. During time there was something I had to return for, or tried to return for, a significant family member, an elderly family member's birthday, and which I missed, but I tried getting back in time. But that led to not literally missing Louisbourg, which was one of the reasons I wanted to see, because Louisbourg was a turning point. The siege of Louisbourg, pivotal operation of the 7 Years' War in 1758. Remember, 1758 should be synonymous also with Lorenzo Ricci. Ended with the French colonial era in Atlantic Canada and led to the subsequent British campaign to capture Quebec in 1759 and the remainder of French North America the following year. Now remember, I want to say the siege, let's see, siege of Louisbourg, General, why am I forgetting? Amherst. Major General Jeffrey Amherst played a pivotal role in the siege of Louisbourg, I believe, which it led to a very, very high position. There's also, Amherst is also credited, Jeffrey Amherst, so the first Baron Amherst, smallpox. Let's see if we can quickly look this up, and then we'll wrap it up. Smallpox, and he said, extirpate. Literally quotes the fourth vow. Execrable. So this idea of applying or propagating germ theory in the history books while also sowing and now this is the CBC, the Catholic Broadcasting Corporation, British Columbia of Canada. You know, it's funny. why I'm even dropping the name of Canadian. Sorry, shit, unbelievable. I'm thinking Catholic, but it's Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. But no, Catholic Broadcasting Corporation of Canada. Extricate this execrable race. The dark history of Jeffrey Amherst. Amherst was a highly decorated military man and an advocate of biological warfare against Indigenous people. This article, published 2017. Oh, why am I think that, you know what? That's, look at this. Assholes. Catholic Broadcasting Corporation publishes an article involving the fourth vow, the extreme oath of obedience on the birthday of Adolfo Nicolas Pachon, 30th Jesuit Superior General. Of course, he got the accident pillow on Ignatius Loyola's Cannonball anniversary date in 2020. So year one of the Corona hokum. As an initiative to change the name so this is was a current event, 2017, the namesakes of Amherst. Naming states after him, arguing he was not only an enemy of Indigenous people, but worse. To say Amherst was a decorated military man would be an understatement. He was a field marshal in the British Army. He served during the 7 Years' War in New France, or modern-day Nova Scotia. He also held the offices of Governor of Quebec, as well as the Crown Governor of Virginia, the Virgin of God, and was named a Lord. But scholars have long debated Amherst's actions during his service, including allegations he advocated the use of biological warfare through smallpox blankets to kill Indigenous peoples. Okay, I've shared before, well, in part, my position. Now, how does this work? Right, a little flask, a little vial, sprinkled on a blanket. We're never it's never thoroughly explained how this was fulfilled. And this is where I believe, in part, so the Jesuit order, with their machinations, certainly sowed illness, disease, and yeah. But again, that's another topic. It's which there's a connection to, like the incidents like the broadsheet prompt, Jon Snow, Mary Mallon, Typhoid Mary. We're dealing with not just execrable, but we're dealing with excrement, fecal matter. What does a priest do, when before giving, or as he gives you what is it, the Eucharist? I want to use the French word. Is it the host, the hostie? I know that's considered a cuss word. So there's the act of just the act of touching. And so how easily disease could be spread from one human being to another, having excrement on hands, applying it to the surface of food or water, drinking water. It can be a very focused. Now, again, I've discussed a lot of different topics that might not be popular. Doesn't matter. But remember, until you start pulling 2+ footers, roundworms, and so on out of your ass, that changes your worldview pretty quickly. Changed my worldview pretty quickly back in 2018. Okay. So my position on how disease was spread, I realized that even disease, again, fucking trigger words. Is disease the right word to use? Whatever. We have a basic understanding of a particular word. We're just going to run with it for now. What do you call it? I don't know. But there was clear harmful intention behind what has been done, and of course, this is why this is an issue still. But it's not a, where is it? It's not a thoroughly fleshed out and well understood issue. Again, smallpox blankets. How does that work? This is never explained. Okay. Many rumors saying that there were countries. Okay, that's just a myth, and that there's a reference. There's a name, and I don't want to get away from who this person is. Okay, in part doesn't matter. I'm sorry, it's getting late. Go find the letters between Amherst and anybody about smallpox. Okay, so letters are found. The first letters from the Swiss mercenary named Henry Bouquet, who suggested giving out smallpox blankets to inoculate the Indians. Later, Derrico found a letter indicating Amherst was keen to the idea. There was one from Amherst himself to Bouquet saying, "This is a good idea to spread smallpox. Just be careful you don't get it yourself." And this is in part subterfuge. You will do well to try, but here we go. This is why this is important, though, because you're being presented with it's a very small portion, but a portion nonetheless of the Jesuit fourth vow. You will do well to try to inoculate the Indians by means of blankets, as well as to try every other method that can serve to extirpate this execrable race. The text of Amherst letter reads, and then, of course, wrote in 1963, "Should be glad for your scheme for hunting them down like by dogs could take effect, but England is too great a distance to think of that at present." Okay. So there's this idea as well. Anything named with Amherst should have his name stripped off. So and if you're further reading, I'll make sure there's a link to this article, 2017 CBC article. Remember, published the birthday of 30th Jesuit Superior General Adolfo Nicholas. The one who was it Wearch? No, was it Wearchange? Had the ambush journalism and tactic that doesn't necessarily work, and it makes for uncomfortable cringe, most of the time cringe video, but it was ambushed by I can't remember, about the fourth vow, and of course Nicholas was I don't know what you're talking about. All right, I'll check the chat and then bid you all adieu. Oh, speaking of which, I also did one. Let's just hit this too. The fact that, how about this, Amherst? So I guess what pisses me off is this idea. I can't remember whether it's Revelation 21, but there's a verse that's used about Canada being something with peace, reconciliation, so on and so forth, and the fact that, or the supposed fact that we're just like America, founded on quote unquote Judeo-Christian principles. Remember, bullshit. Why am I bringing that up? I'm bringing it up because I want to point out it's all bullshit. Jesuit theater. The fact that January 29, 1717. So this man's life runs parallel to Lorenzo Ricci, as well as I'm just thinking of the Jesuit generals, the overlapping, but having a death date. So, and the artists, in part, we question two dates. Is August 3rd, August 2nd? Is August 3rd potentially August 4th? Just because the Roman the Gregorian or Roman or the Gregorian the timeline / calendar dates switch at midnight. Remember what calendar? Because remember when days would finish at sundown, so on. So there's this transference. So the fact that Amherst has a death date so close to Lawrence Ritchie, writer. Look at that. Jesuit lists him as a writer. He's a writer, all right. I've also seen Ritchie's birthday is listed as August 1st. But Lorenzo Ricci, born on 2nd August 1703. Remember, and who else? August 2nd is also Jesuit order co-founder Peter Favre. Peter Favre. Well, speaking of which, shout out to Johnny the Captain. It's hitting Peter Gabriel's digging in the dirt some time ago. We have a death date for Peter Faber, co-founder of the Society of Jesus, along with Loyola and Xavier. He has a death date of August 1st, 1546. And canonized, look at that. Remember, I know we've covered this before, but canonized on 17 September 2013. So the first year of Pope Francis's white papacy, but it was also Francis's birthday. Jorge Mario Bergoglio, born 17 September. But we also examine Faber. So he's canonized, and look, gets his feast day August 2nd. August 2nd, as we've also covered before, Pierre Charles. We have an architect, not Théodore Desjardins, but Pierre Charles. Can I spell? I'll just rely on autocorrect. Charles, is it Peter Charles Child, l'enfant? Peter Charles the child, born August 2nd, so shares a birthday with 18th Jesuit Superior General Lorenzo Ricci. And I just keep blabbing. Okay, and then we also say too, here's our connection to today. Remember, this is the architect of Washington, D.C., the pentagram within the diocese. What I'm dropping. Oh my goodness, the District of Columbia. Wow. So the pentagram layout within Washington, the District of Columbia, and his death date being June 14, 1825. Well, Donnell Johann trumpet, John's trumpet. Excuse me, June 14, 1946. So we've got a connection through the architect, from the trump to the architect to the unknown founding father. Oh my goodness, the United States of America. All right, wow. I'm into that. Just looking at briefly looking at the chat. JD, thank you for your comments. Historical interpretations that are historical don't have to be true. Characters don't have to be actually. Yeah. In part though, I think there are rules though to this. I don't have an example off the top of my head. But again, this idea, though, that in a part, our positions, what we have, literally names, places, and dates. And I think in part the Yahweh set this, there are rules, just like the understanding through the Matrix films, the Wachowski sisters, and ripping off the Tom Malhouse, the Matrix narrative of that. Yeah, there's structures in place. There are rules in place. Rules can be bent. Rules can be broken. But the fact that there are rules in place that have to be abided by, and thus the model of names, places, and dates, the common sense model, the use of names, places, and dates to establish for ourselves the fact that I've been blabbing for an hour of literally names, places, and dates, and most, not all, but most can literally be traced back with some intersection. I've to our Jesuit general list. Yes, not all, but many. Anyway, that's what am I missing? Thank you, Benjamin. Possibly it's not historical account recounting of the relationship, consciousness, conscious mind. Yeah, so certainly points to ponder. Remember, but at the same time, what is the basis for all truth? Okay, the great. There's that the $1 million. What is it? The $64,000 question. What is truth? Just as Jesus of Nazareth presented it to Pilate. What? I'm not sure about your comment, Benjamin, about the spear of destiny. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. There we go. Yeah. So the Shakespeare Breakspear illusion. Shakespeare, Sir Francis Bacon. Well, okay. There's certainly the Francis Bacon connection, but then remember whenever discussing Francis Bacon, we have to take into account. So there's John Dee, but Jesuit Toby Matthew, and I believe the father of Toby Matthew, Tobias Matthew. So significant players here, but Toby Matthew being a Jesuit. So Francis Bacon and Toby Matthew, alter egos, two different men, bum buddies, or are they one man, one character with, like Janus, two faces? And through them, behind them, let's say behind Jesuit Toby Matthew, you have essentially fifth Jesuit Superior General Claudio Alcoviva. And I believe Toby Matthew's timeline bleeds also into Mutio, so sixth Jesuit Superior General Mutio Widalewski. Can't pronounce his name properly. I'm looking up Toby Matthew. 1655, even further. So I know we're jumping around a bit. That's okay. That's what we do. That's what we do best. Yeah, JD, Lorenzo Ricci, Sun Tzu. Yes, that's my current position. And I love the fact, Walter Veit, Crete to Malta series. I believe it's part 2, discusses Lorenzo Ricci's war. And I agree with Johnny. Yes, Walter Veit heavily cites Frederick Tupper III's Rulers of Evil, but does not give him proper credit. Veit did say, I think he posed the question, how does this man have, I'm clearly paraphrasing, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's like, ask the question of how does this man have he doesn't have Ellen G. White, or this potentially even, I don't know, put words in his mouth, but it's like he doesn't have our vision or our understanding or discernment yet. he arrived at this. Shit, I may have to even. Okay, it's going to wind me up now. I'll have to find that myself. But Veit again, from Crete to Malta. I believe it was part 2, and Veit walks through Frederick Topsassy's portion of Rulers of Evil, Lorenzo Ricci's War, and cites. So Malachi Martin, who wrote the Jesuits, and there's a citation, page number 4. I don't want to start guessing, but clearly points out that based on the fourth vow, which we discussed a little earlier, not explicitly, but we alluded to through Jeffrey Amherst, that within the fourth vow, that a Jesuit is literally supposed to act in the manner of a corpse, in the manner of perende ac cadaver, to act without question, blind obedience. So if a Jesuit writes a book, there is that application. Therefore, it is not necessarily the Jesuit that is writing the book, or the, let's say, Jean-Joseph Miriamiot, who's so-called translating Art of War or 13 Articles, but it's actually the Jesuit Superior General, the voice. So Lorenzo Ricci, through that extrapolation, through that inductive reasoning, and in part deductive reasoning, we arrive at the conclusion that Lorenzo Ricci is in fact Sun Tzu. And again, no text without context. When was 13 Articles published? 1772. When was the Jesuit suppression? By Clement XIV. 1773. Remember, July 21st. And then, of course, this year, we had two major blockbuster films released on it was the 250th anniversary of the suppression of the Society of Jesus. Now that's pissed me off. If I got that wrong, is it Clement XIII or Clement XIV that issued Dominus Ac Redemptor? Okay. Anyway, therefore, arriving in a very roundabout way, and just as my goodness, Frederick Topsasy III presented brilliantly. Remember, the text, the rulers of evil, useful knowledge about governing bodies, is too good. It is Jesuit subterfuge. It is gold. It is pure gold. But read it, find it, and read it with the eyes of this is a controlled source. Yeah. Okay. You have to read this. Yeah. Yeah, certainly. There's approaching the scriptures as well as there's as just a historical text. How about it? Some would approach it as bullshit, as mythical, as fiction. Certainly, tons of rabbit trails, because immediately I'm thinking of Michael S. Heiser, the late Michael S. Heiser. Anyway, Benjamin, J.D. Yeah, we're over. Past midnight. Thank you for being here. And if you're finding this at a later date, Shakespeare, Sir Francis Bacon, yeah, we kind of addressed that. Certainly there are connections. Do we have a definitive conclusion? No. But remember, big picture, the timing, early 17th century, late 16th and then early 17th century. The timing is impeccable. The timing is borderline surreal. Of the fact that there's still the outstanding Shakespeare authorship question, that which is clearly a subject in and of itself. but nonetheless, the fact that who says Shakespeare and 5th Jesuit Superior General Claudio Acquaviva in the same sentence? Nobody, but we do. So if we're certainly presenting, well, I maybe wouldn't call it a new idea. Well, I've never heard it. So there you go. It's a new idea. Brand spanking new. We've been saying it for the last 3-4 years, maybe even longer. Anyway, remember what, and which is why in part too. Why is remember the 5th of November, the Guy Fawkes mask, so important and relevant in our culture, and what the fact that what it represents in our culture. Again, it's taken on the kind of meaning that behind it. It's like just like it's in part the equivalent of the Joker mask, which is now the equivalent of the N95, the mask worn through over the last 3 years, which people are still wearing. It's one and the same. You think of V for Vendetta, the Saint Mary's virus. And I believe in the plot, it stemmed from municipal drinking water pollution, which of course, we've stated before this idea that the Jon Snow, the cholera epidemic, the Broad Street pump was a control. Okay, what do I call it? A test to examine in a city, in a cityscape, so medium to high density housing, how many people one water source would affect within the city, one controlled water source. Okay, I think we'll leave it at that. And but thank you so much. If I missed your name, and Narina, thank you for being. I hope I'm saying it correctly. Thank you for showing up, and catch you next time, Grace Stream. Yeah. Okay. Much love to you all. Blessings in His mighty name.